I've come to realize something very interesting about the way Chris Brown is received and covered. I say the last 15 years. And whenever you bring up Chris Brown's name, it's usually met with a negative reception to people in conversation. But it doesn't quite translate to his career. He's still able to be nominated for Grammys and even win. I think he won this year for Best Progressive R&B Album. He's going to different countries and selling out arenas, 55, 60,000 people in attendance. He's able to still be cherished and appreciated by some of the more talented artists of our generation, R&B, hip hop, pop, you name it. They're all openly celebrating Chris Brown and collaborating with him. And every time, your Chloe Bailey's, your even Tinashe got crucified for collaborating with Chris Brown. And she, despite making the record, she decided to hear the reception and she folded to the pressure. But you see these different people like Normani or your Victoria Monet's, your Chloe Bailey's, like I mentioned, they're collaborating with him and they're all criticized for it. All of them are all criticized for it. You see different R&B acts hopping on the residual challenge. And you see recently with Leon Thomas, if you never heard Mutt before and you're an R&B fan, you must be living under a rock. But when Chris Brown hopped on the Mutt remix and completely annihilated it, really did his thing on it, you see people say, I'm disappointed in Leon Thomas. Why did you pick Chris Brown? Not knowing that he's written for Chris Brown and they've collaborated and they have a pretty good working relationship. I see all this and I want to say a small minority, because he wouldn't be able to continue to have this amount of success if there were more people hating him than the people that actually love him in real life. There's still people that love him and adore him, clearly from this right here. The magnitude of his presence, concerts, and even being recognized by the Grammys, despite being invited to perform at certain tributes and then last minute telling him and his team they're going to go in a different direction. It's things like that there's people in the industry and people online that will never forgive Chris Brown. Every time you try to mention Chris Brown in a positive light, long documented history of abuse, past Rihanna, even though Rihanna's forgiven him, it's hard to ignore is what a lot of people are saying. And that he does not deserve the platform he's getting, despite his talent and his success and his impact on the culture. And if we're going to choose to hold multiple artists accountable the way some people have chosen to hold Chris Brown accountable all these years, well, your playlists are going to look mighty empty. You see certain people saying, stop putting Chris Brown on your songs, etc., etc. I think that it's popular to hate Chris Brown online, but not necessarily popular to hate him in real life. It's not a form of propaganda, because the reason why people don't like Chris Brown, I understand. I completely understand it. In discussions and conversations, I don't consider that propaganda. I consider that it's a sound and logical reason. I'm not going to say it's a great reason, because it's a slippery slope, and we can get caught up in that very fast and see who some of your favorite artists are, and I don't think many of them have a clean, squeaky image. It has some logical inconsistencies, but that's neither here nor there. When we speak about Chris Brown, and you think about the fact that it's been about 15 years and he's still here and he's still been able to have successful records after successful records, and still been able to go platinum, still been able to sell out shows, still been able to collaborate with some of the most talented artists of his generation, the future and the present, that it just goes to show that once people decide that it's popular to hate you, then that's what they're going to do. And there's really no other way to go about it than to continue your career. I ask the question often, what would it take for Chris Brown to do to turn this around if he cared? I don't think he cared, because it hasn't completely stopped him. In a way, I guess he has been blackballed. I hear no guidance on the radio You can't be blackballed if I still hear your songs in the radio, whether that be in throwback playlists, whether that be, the New It Too, and you're still invited to perform at the Rolling Louds, etc., etc. The small corner of people that hate Chris Brown, it's not enough to stop him. And to answer my own question, what would Chris Brown have to do to silence that small corner? I think the answer is nothing. And I think he's very comfortable with having that pressure or that weight on him. And I think it motivates him to continue his career. And it's clearly not slowing anything down, maybe in the pop success. But I don't think chasing pop hits really matters to Chris Brown at this time. I think where he's at in the culture of R&B and hip hop is where he wants to be. And he's completely cherished and revered. And you will see more people like Leon Thomas and the songwriters that are coming after him, and not even just new, fresh talent, but talent that's been here for some time. They will collaborate with Chris Brown because they see other talented artists collaborate with him. It's like a domino effect. If it's cool not to stand beside him, then that would be the thing. But I think it's more popular in real life to stand next to Chris Brown than be against him. And I beg the question, are there more people that you could be spending your energy on? This type of energy that you're giving Chris Brown, and, stop putting Chris Brown in your songs. Are there other artists that you could be digging up and finding new ways to stop them from having the success that they are having? Like other just artists outside of our culture, right? Why does it have to be only the select few artists in our culture that deserves this energy? If we were to figure out the balance sheet and the positive contributions that Chris Brown has had since that public dispute with Rihanna versus the negative, are we breaking even, or would you say the negative is still an incentive for you to continue your public degradation of this man's character and his talent? Just a question. And if it isn't, are there other artists where you could be spending this energy on? Some of those that are flying under the radar that probably have a worse reputation, that a lot more people have worse things to say about them, that you're kind of just, whether you're not incentivized to do it, whether you don't have the energy, the time, I don't know, whether you don't have the determination to track down someone outside of maybe in the pop genre, maybe in the country genre, maybe in the rock genre, and these, like, why does he get to eat? Despite him being such a terrible person, this long documented, that person is a monster. But you're like, you know what? I'd rather stay on Chris Brown. I'd rather still continue to throw dirt on his name. Despite packing out 40, 50,000 in Brazil and going to South Africa and everybody saying this is one of the greatest performances that I've ever seen, right? I remember seeing in South Africa. I put 2 A's on South Africa. I'm tripping. Chris Brown successfully finishes tour in South Africa, bringing around 92,000 people for 2 days in a row to one of the biggest stadiums in the world. The first R&B singer to ever do it. Congrats, Chris Brown. 25,000 likes, 4.4 thousand retweets, 1.6 million impressions. I just don't think that the hate is translating. However, you still have people that are actively petitioning. Women's rights activists petitioned to ban the singer from performing at F&B Stadium, which saw over 90,000 attendees each night. I just don't think the momentum is big enough to stop him. They're going to continue to try, and it's just loud and omnipresent to me that people will never stop hating Chris Brown. Never. Because to them, what he's done in the past, maybe in the present, I don't know what he's currently doing, is a justifiable enough reason to continue to smear his name. Let me know in the comment box what you think down below. Is the hate justified, or is it getting old and tired, or is his talent prevailing past the hate? Seems like it, but I want to know what you think. All right. Steve Levine, as always, I'll be safe. Shwee.